You're looking live at Ambassador Bridge between Canada and the U.S., a story we've been following closely today. Traffic from the U.S. to Canada had to be rerouted for several hours, all because of a police investigation. CBC and Windsor Police confirming shortly after 3 that the bridge had reopened. They continue to investigate and say there's no threat to public safety. We're still working to get more clarity on what happened for you. We'll bring you more details as we learn them. Taking you back to the GTA, another developing story we're tracking this hour. You're looking live at Chadwick Street and Lockwood Road in Brampton. Police were called to the neighborhood earlier this afternoon. When paramedics arrived shortly after 3, they found a man suffering from stab wounds and head trauma. They worked to save his life, but he was pronounced dead on scene. Right now, police say they have no suspect information. They're asking people to avoid the area as detectives work to piece together what happened. We're expecting to hear from police. If we get that during the next 30 minutes, we'll hopefully bring you another update. Some relief now for transit riders in Brampton. Buses are back on the road after some transit facilities had been blocked by picket lines set up by striking city workers. But as Nama Weingarten shows us, it's still only partial service, and the city's mayor says he's considering legal action.
Buses are on the move in Brampton, but still not running as usual. It's the first time they're on the road since a strike by city employees brought service to a halt on Thursday. Brampton's mayor says service is only 25% of what it was before, and riders waiting for the bus tell us they're growing impatient.
Working very slow. So we are waiting about 30 minutes here.
I'm getting late for my work, and I've told them that if I can start a little bit late. And also yesterday I had my college classes that were held online because of this disruption.
Bus service made its partial comeback in Brampton after the union representing striking city workers decided to allow some to cross the picket lines. That after Mayor Patrick Brown threatened to seek legal action to get buses up and running again.
We had high hopes that the major disruptions for transit would stop today. I think in light of a pending injunction, the union promised that they would allow buses through today. That hasn't happened.
But the union's local president says the injunction threat is not why they decided to let service resume.
It was a sign of good faith that, QP is flexible and reasonable. We want to get back to the bargaining table. We haven't had any contact from the city since we left.
Meanwhile, city employees are still here on the picket lines. They're not bus operators, but many of them are responsible for public transit and other city services.
Corporate greed has got to go!
The 1,200 striking employees, represented by QP Local 831, walked off the job after contract negotiations with the city failed to produce a new deal. Among their demands, a pay increase and a health and benefits package that's on par with management. They've been bargaining a new deal since the end of March, with no progress.
We're not here to disrupt the public, but we're also here to try to negotiate and get a fair deal from the employer to, obviously, address inflation, CPI, and make life affordable.
And Brown says that with bus service still not back in full, an injunction is still likely.
So my message to CUPE is stop preventing our transit operators from going to work. Otherwise, we're going to see you in court next week.
As of right now, it's still unclear when bus service will return to normal. Mayor Brown says there hasn't been any discussion at the bargaining table since Tuesday, with the two sides still far apart. Nama Weingarten, CBC News, Brampton.
To a disturbing story out of Northern Ontario next. A 16-year-old girl is in hospital after suffering injuries from what her family describes as a brutal attack. As David Fraser shows us, her boyfriend is in custody facing a charge of attempted murder.
Kaylee Smith's family says she was getting off a bus near her home Sunday night when her former boyfriend allegedly struck her with a vehicle and attacked her with a sharp object. One of Kaylee's hands was severed and the other is critically injured.
I don't know how she's alive. Nobody knows, and it's incredible, her strength and resilience in this.
Kaylee Smith also suffered wounds to the back of her head. The alleged attack happened in Cobalt, Ontario, and her family says she was airlifted to Ottawa and underwent a lengthy brain surgery.
She's, recovering remarkably well for what's happened to her.
Family members traveled to Ottawa to be with Kaylee, and they're getting help from home. More than $70,000 have been donated to an online fundraiser, much of it from residents of Cobalt, a town northeast of Sudbury with fewer than 1,000 people. Earlier this week, Ontario Provincial Police announced they have charged 18-year-old Philip Gagnon with 3 crimes, including attempted murder. The accused has been in custody since Sunday and is expected next in court again on November 12th. David Fraser, CBC News, Ottawa.
We want to take you back to Brampton now, where Peel Police are about to give an update to an investigation. You can see the officer is getting ready there, standing by in a neighborhood. There's been a couple of incidents this afternoon in Brampton that we've been tracking. We had heard reports about a stabbing and a potential shooting. Let's listen in.
Reports of a shooting on the 30 block of Inder Heights Drive in the city of Brampton. That's near the intersection of Inder Heights and Mayfield. On arrival, they located an adult male suffering from multiple gunshot wounds who was transported to hospital and is in serious but at the moment stable condition. What we know right now is that individual was inside of a vehicle outside of their residence. Investigators from the 22 Division Criminal Investigations Bureau are investigating this. They believe at this preliminary time that this is a case of mistaken identity. While this is a targeted style shooting, clearly here our investigators believe this to be a case of mistaken identity. The suspects fled in a black Honda Civic with license plates DBDC720. That's on file as stolen. We can't confirm right now if it's one suspect or multiple. I'm open to any questions.
Okay, you just heard Brampton Police giving an update on a situation. At the top of the show, we were taking you to a neighborhood where we had heard reports from paramedics about a potential stabbing. The officer was actually talking about another shooting we had been tracking earlier this afternoon. As you just heard the officer say, they're investigating it as a case of mistaken identity. A person was shot inside a vehicle outside their residence. It was a targeted style shooting, police say. And again, they said a case of mistaken identity. He was very clear on that. They talked about suspects fleeing the scene in a black Honda Civic. They suspect that is a stolen vehicle. All of this information is just coming into our newsroom now, so we'll continue to track the story for you and bring you more as we learn it. We want to tell you about another story out of Peel now. Police confirming there's been a second arrest in connection to a protest outside a Hindu temple last Sunday. A 35-year-old man from Brampton has been arrested and charged with assault with a weapon. The first arrest came earlier this week when police arrested a 57-year-old Toronto man, charging him with publicly inciting hatred. Now, police say they responded to an altercation during a demonstration outside the Hindu Sabha Mandir temple. They're investigating several offenses, many of which were captured on video, including some using flags and sticks to assault people in the crowd. Police say they are looking at hundreds of videos to try and identify other possible suspects. The battle over bike lanes heating up once again this weekend. The province says it wants to get rid of bike lanes along busy roads to ease congestion. As Tyreek Reed shows us, Toronto's mayor says she now has plans to fight back.
Cyclists are rallying and riding straight into a fight with the provincial government. It comes as the Ford government shared plans to tear up some bike lanes in the city. But cyclists say
these plans are very close-minded. They look at the cars and think that putting more of them on the road is going to solve our issues. This is not true. We already have really bad gridlock because of the amount of cars on the road. So reducing the amount of bikes available will put everybody in cars.
Bill 212 will make it mandatory for municipalities to get permission from the province if they wish to install bike lanes when removing sections of vehicle traffic. The province also wants to take it even further and remove some or all of bike lanes on Toronto's Bloor, University, and Yonge Street to tackle traffic.
If we see a reduction of bike lanes, we're just going to see more deaths on the road, and bikers will still be on the roads because for a lot of people, this is the only option. So they're just going to be on the roads and unprotected.
The pushback is being supported by some of the city's top staff. Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow recently tabled a motion that says the province is undermining the city's work and decisions, and the mayor's office plans to protect bike lanes. But not all councillors agree.
We have all of the tools available at our disposal at City Hall to address this issue. We just have a lack of leadership and common sense when it comes to some of the bike lanes here in the city. And I think the province is responding to that with a big swing, but I think they're trying to address a problem, which is a big one for a lot of folks here in the city, which is the congestion here in Toronto.
In a statement to CBC Toronto Saturday, the Ministry of Transportation says, "We are doing everything we can to fight congestion and keep major arterial roads moving, but it's clear the city's approach is not working. The removal of lanes of traffic on busiest roads has only made gridlock worse. Businesses worry the plan could lead to less foot traffic."
The vast majority came here as pedestrians, but the next largest cohort were cyclists. Very few came by car. Our members felt that over half their customers arrived in the annex by car. Fact is that number is 7%, a number that's really not changed very much in the years since.
The province's bill still needs to be passed at Queen's Park before any changes to bike lanes are made. Terry Greed, CBC News, Toronto.
Turning now to some news tennis fans in Ontario will love. A pair of Canadians netting huge wins on the court, starting with Ottawa's Gabriela Dabrowski, who made history.
Love the reaction again, though. The smile. Will they be smiling after this point? They will! Dabrowski and Routliffe are relentless in Riyadh as they are the WTA Finals champions.
What a moment for Dabrowski and her doubles partner, Aaron Routliffe of New Zealand. They secured the WTA Finals title after taking down their opponents in just 2 sets. The 32-year-old is now the first Canadian ever to win a title at the tournament, which sees the top 8 doubles teams in the world compete for the championship. And another Canadian also seeing success on the tennis court today. A big roar of victory there for Richmond Hill's Denis Shapovalov as he secured the final point to become a 2-time ATP Tour champion, defeating the hometown favorite in just 2 sets. With the win, the lefty jumps up 22 spots in the ATP rankings to 56. Sophia joining us now for our first look at the forecast. You know, a sunny, lovely day, but I'm still not used to it being so dark so early. Like, I'm ready to go to sleep now.
Yeah, there was quite the chill in the air. The sun helped that usual gloom that November is famous for. Let's talk a little bit about those dark days. Did you notice what time the sun actually set today? It was before 5 p.m. Shannon, we're going to be cooking dinner in the afternoon hours pretty soon. Those days get longer and longer and gloomier until that winter solstice, that longest darkness day of the year, longest dark of the year on December the 21st, and the days continue to get darker until that point. At least it's going to feel a little un-November-like when it comes to some of the warmer temperatures over the next 24 to 36 hours. This disorganized low pressure system moves in for Sunday. Will be breezy, winds 40 to 60 kilometers an hour, along with some shower activity throughout your Sunday. If you have outdoor plans on Sunday, try to get them in a little bit earlier. That rain moves in late morning for those of you in southwestern Ontario, and by the afternoon hours, it is widespread spotty showers for everybody from the Nickel Belt south. Some heavier pockets of rain, Georgian Bay and Erie shorelines, but really this isn't an all-day thing. This is a few-hour shower event and some showers that could linger into Monday. All in all, about 5 to 15 millimeters of rainfall. The warm temperatures will stick around, though. We're talking after a chilly Sunday morning, some double digits, but this system could actually mean a bit of snow in parts of northern Ontario, so I'll tell you about that in the long range.
Okay, thanks. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Still ahead, at least 24 people are dead and more than 60 others wounded in Pakistan after a bomb attack at a busy rail station. We'll have more on that story next. Stay with us. In international news, officials say a suicide bomber killed more than 24 people and injured more than 60 others at a crowded train station in southern Pakistan. A separatist militant group is claiming responsibility. As Jennifer Yoon shows us, the blast is just the latest flare-up in a decades-long insurgency.
A bomb blast at a busy train station in the city of Quetta in southwestern Pakistan. Civilians and soldiers among the dead and injured. People were running here and there in chaos. Some had blown up legs, arms, and hands, says this eyewitness.
2 minutes के बाद blast हुआ है.
2 people who were with me got injured, says this man, also hurt in the blast. He says others were with him, but he's not sure what happened to them. Pakistani officials are still counting the dead. At least 26 are confirmed killed and more than 60 injured.
Security agencies ने जो इब्तदाई reports.
Initial evidence suggests this was a suicide attack, say local authorities. The attack claimed by the Balochistan Liberation Army, an ethno-nationalist militant organization operating in the province. The region has seen a surge in violent strikes by separatist militants. Balochistan has a wealth of natural resources, but its population of almost 15 million among the most impoverished in the country, fueling a great sense of grievance, say analysts.
The lack of development, the lack of economic opportunity, and the way in which the resources of this province have been distributed across a federal government, and the way the demands of the Balochi people have not been addressed by the federal government of Pakistan. And for that, I think the Pakistani government needs to take complete and full responsibility.
Mufti is not concerned the violence will spill over to the Canadian Pakistani diaspora. But she says the rest of the world should be watching. Pakistan is already a very unstable country, and what happens there could have wide-reaching impacts around the world. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
Northern Gaza is at risk of imminent famine as aid agencies demand more food and much-needed supplies be allowed in as Israel continues its military offensive in the territory. Ellen Morrow has our story.
The panicked rush to save the wounded after an Israeli airstrike near a makeshift camp in Gaza. We came here after being displaced, Mohammed Wadi says. We are not safe, day or night. With Israel's renewed operations in the territory's north, aid agencies are releasing stark warnings over worsening humanitarian conditions. Famine is likely imminent in some areas, say global food security experts in a new report the World Health Organization called deeply alarming.
We really need to have more access. We need to have more security. We need to ensure that once that supplies that enter Gaza are able to reach everywhere inside Gaza.
Israel faces a Tuesday deadline from the Biden administration to increase aid or face possible limits on U.S. military assistance. It's also under pressure over a new UN report finding nearly 70% of UN-verified fatalities in the first 6 months of the war were women and children. More than 43,000 Palestinians have been killed since the fighting began, says Gaza's health ministry.
It is essential that there is due reckoning with respect to the allegations of serious violations of international law.
Israel has repeatedly accused Hamas of hiding among civilians, and it's rejected both reports, releasing this image of an aid truck being unloaded, and Israel says it will open a new border crossing to increase the flow. 713 aid trucks have entered northern Gaza since the beginning of October, according to Israeli figures. Before the conflict, aid agencies say some 500 went into the territory every day.
It's good to see you. Very good to see you.
On the diplomatic front, Qatar says its mediation efforts are on hold until both sides show more willingness to reach a deal. It denied reports that it's asked Hamas officials to leave the country. With ceasefire and hostage release talks stalled, the suffering drags on. More than a year of war, the pain unbearable for so many. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
The Toronto Argos taking on their rivals, the Montreal Alouettes, in the Eastern Conference Finals today. We caught up with some fans ahead of the game, confident in their respective teams.
What I've seen last Saturday against the Red Blacks, I think I'm pretty confident we're going to be able to get on top here. So yeah. I feel amazing. Look at these people. They look scared out of their pants. Look at that guy over there. I've never seen a guy so worried in my life. We're going after revenge season. This offense is so much better than Fajardo and all those guys. I'm not worried at all, to answer your question.
I love the Wigs. The Argos struck first, scoring a touchdown in the first quarter to go up 7-0. And then they took a narrow 20-16 lead heading into halftime. The Argos built on that lead in the third, taking a 27-16 with one more quarter to play. However, the Alouettes closed in on the Argos, getting within 2 points of tying with less than 2 minutes to play. But the Argos held on to win the nail-biter 30-28. The Hockey Hall of Fame class of 2024 will be inducted in Toronto on Monday. Last night, they were honored before the game between the Red Wings and the Leafs.
Entering the Hockey Hall of Fame in the players category, Shea Weber.
In addition to Shea Weber, the other players celebrated last night included Jeremy Roenick, Cressy Wendahl, and Natalie Darwitz. The Leafs also winning the game by a score of 3-1. Sophia's back now to talk about the forecast, kind of talking about cooking supper in the dark and adjusting to the season.
Always bringing the good news. I am. Next time I'll be doing a countdown to Christmas. How about that? We'll spin it glass half full here. Sunday morning, temperatures are feeling rather Christmas-like and chilly, but the double digits work their way back in. For those of you in southwestern Ontario, you'll be the first ones to get the rain. Sunday afternoon, though, we are anywhere from 5 to 7 degrees above seasonal. It's a southerly flow with this disorganized low pressure system that will bring some wraparound showers, even until Monday. Not heavy hitting rain, and Monday there'll be plenty of chances for some variable, partly cloudy skies, and even breaks of sunshine. Between Sunday to Monday, you're only looking at about 5 to maybe 15 millimeters of rainfall around some of the lake shores on the Georgian and the Huron shores. But it's enough of a moisture-laden system to bring a southerly, pretty gusty flow and bump up our temperatures a little bit to start off the work week. After that, we're in a flatter zonal flow when it comes to the jet stream, and the rest of the work week is going to be rather seasonal, rather calm, fairly sunny. But have a look, as this low pressure system comes in Sunday into Monday, we gotta watch carefully. It's that time of year where that rain-snow line becomes really important. Right now, it's north of Timmins, but into Monday, it sags south, and some of you even on the northern edge of the Nickel Belt could see some of the flakes flying into Monday. How early is early for snow? We've gotten 5 centimeters into October before, but really, this next pattern is quite seasonal. You will feel the chill in the air Tuesday and Wednesday when we return to a northerly flow, but plenty of hours of sunshine this week. And yeah, I do think we should start a Christmas countdown, Shannon. I'm ready.
Let's do it. Pull out the decorations. We can be those people.
Yep, I'm those people.
Thanks, Sophia. That's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you have a great night, and we'll see you again tomorrow at 11.